So if death and the end of the universe is a reality, then what is the state of man after that? Will his life end there, or will he be resurrected? The noble Quran says in categorical terms that Allah will resurrect every human being. And after judgment, true believers will be given reward and sinners will be punished. There are persons who mock and ask, how can God create us after we have become dust in our graves? To make skeptics understand that it is very easy for Allah to recreate us, He has given many illustrations. The noble Quran in Surah Al-Hajj chapter 22 verse 5 says, O mankind, if you are in doubt about the resurrection, then it is we who have created you from dust, then from zygote, then from a leech-like clot, then out of a morsel of flesh, partly formed and partly unformed, and we cause whom we will to remain in the wombs for an appointed term. Then we bring them out as infants. After further illustrations, Allah makes a challenge at verse 7. وَأَنَّ سَاءَةَ آتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَبْعَثُ مَنْ فِي الْقُبُورِ. Surely the hour will come, and there can be no doubt about it. And certainly Allah will resurrect all who are in the graves. Have you ever thought about the logic behind the Quran inviting our attention to the intricate and complex nature of various creations, whenever it tries to convince us about the existence of the Creator and His ability to resurrect us? The Quran gives the answer in chapter 30 verse 27 as follows. وَهُوَ الَّذِي يَبْدَأُ الْخَلْقَ ثُمَّ يُعِيدُهُ وَهُوَ أَهْوَنُ عَلَيْهِ. And it is He who originated the creation, and then it is very easy for Him to repeat it. There is a great logic behind this. If man is convinced that he was created by Allah, then it is easy for him to believe in Allah's power to bring him back to life. It's always difficult to make a computer or any device for the first time. But once it is made, then it is easy to repeat it. So the most relevant question we have to investigate is whether Allah has created us or we came into existence by chance. If we have not been created, then there is no God, and the question that God will again create us does not arise. There is a saying in Arabic, Man arafa nafsahu arafa rabbahu. Those who understand his body, then definitely he will understand his Creator. Once man understands the complex nature of his body, its structure, its internal organs, tissues, gene, DNA, etc., then definitely he will realize there is no chance for such a complex structure to come into existence by chance, and hence there is a Creator. Quran says in chapter 80 verse 19, Min nutfatin khalaqahu faqaddara. Out of a tiny drop of fluid He created him, in which He determined his nature. From the highly intricate structure of DNA and genes, we know what is meant by these verses. The sexual act brings the sperm and ovum together to form the zygote. The zygote then will be divided into cells, and all the important organs and parts are formed from these basic cells. Human body is built with tissues. These tissues vary in structure as well as in its purpose. For example, the neuron with which brain is made up will be different from the tissues with which liver is made of. Still, in all tissues there are some basic similarities. And the most important is the presence of DNA, which is same in all tissues. It is in DNA the basic information for the construction of all other organs are contained in the form of genes. For example, in the tissues that constitute liver, those genes that are needed to convert tissues to liver will be active and others will be passive. Same is the case with all the genes contained in those tissues that make other organs like heart, kidney, etc. For example, the cells which is intended to become heart contains information to form other organs, but those information will be inactive and only that particular information that is needed to become heart will be active. Understand, this information can never come into existence by chance. If a baby takes a pen and scribbles in a paper for days and months, words, sentences, poems, dramas or essays will not come into existence by chance. Before a poet writing a poem, there will be imagination in his mind, and only when he writes that information in a paper, it will become a poem. Similarly, before a novelist writing a novel, there will be the story in his mind, and when he writes it down, only it will become a novel. If even some words cannot come into existence by chance, then how can the highly complex information in DNA come into existence by chance? So once man recognizes the fact that he has been created, then it is easy for him to accept the fact that the same Creator can create us again once we become dust in the grave. Exactly, this is the logic adopted in verse 27 of chapter 30 of the Noble Quran, where Allah states that if it is I who have created you, then it is easy for me to create you again after you become dust in the grave. Now we are living in the age of cloning. By cloning, scientists are not creating new life. When a carpenter makes a chair, we say he made a chair, not he created a chair. Why? Because the wood with which the chair is made is created by God. Similarly, the scientists take the nucleus of a cell, that is 23 pairs of chromosomes from the cell of a living being created by Allah, and is artificially fused into the nucleus of the ovum, and the ovum is placed in a womb. Only if a scientist creates life from vacuum, we can say he has created. Here the nucleus taken from a cell, the zygote as well as the womb are there already. So scientists are not creating new life. Everything is created by God. Scientists are dreaming to clone a like-image person if they can obtain a cell from the hair of a person who died centuries back. If that cloning becomes successful, still the person who will be born through the cloning will be similar in appearance, but will not be the same. If it is a rebirth, then he should have the memories of the person who is dead. Anyway, I am referring to cloning to draw your attention to the fact that if man thinks that he can clone from the cell of the hair of a dead person, then Almighty God who had created us can definitely resurrect us from our graves. In short, like death and the end of this world, resurrection is also a reality and not a myth.